Hi, this is Sensei James Leonelli from Sensei's Weekly Mindset, and I'm here to talk to you about betonline.net. Betonline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball, soccer, and esports. Don't forget my personal favorite, MMA. We've got it all on betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, we can help you find those on BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. And don't forget BetOnline for NHL, boxing, golf, and like I said, my personal favorite, the sport of MMA. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Life isn't always easy, and you don't have to face it alone. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you have access to a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of needs. To get started, you simply answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's most convenient for you. The best part is, if your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price, all from the comfort at home. To start your journey and to get 10% off of your first month, go to betterhelp.com/sensei. That's betterhelp.com/sensei. BetterHelp, you deserve to be happy. Hi guys, Sensei James Leonelli here to talk to you about another one of our sponsors, LMNT. An electrolyte drink mix. Each one of these little packets gives you exactly what you need to keep you as hydrated as all us athletes like to be. If you're like me, you work out a lot, and when you work out a lot, you also sweat a lot. Now, when we sweat, we don't lose just water, of course. We also sweat out salt. We sweat out electrolytes. So each one of these packets contains 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, giving you everything that you need in order to maintain optimal hydration and nothing that you don't. So to go online, place an order for your sample pack, and to get yourself a bonus free sample pack, you're going to go to this website right here, elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. You're going to see this down in the video below, but I'll say it one more time for you. elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. Again, it's a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing that you don't. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Sensei's Weekly Mindset. I'm Sensei James Leonelli, owner and head instructor of Tiger Schulman's here in Smithtown. Once again, I am back in my home recording space, ready to give you guys this week's food for thought. This week, I've stepped away from tie gear for the first time ever in the show's history, and I am wearing my official Catalina, the Colombian Cobra fight shirt, done by Natty Combat Apparel. You can see we've got our Natty symbol over there. We've got our neurodiversity symbol over there, right? And we got the Colombian Cobra right in the middle. You can get yours and support the Swing for the Stars event and the Family Autism Network. The link is in my link tree, which you can see right over my shoulder here, linktr.ee/Sensei Leonelli. The link is there. You can go to Natty Combat Apparel and you can find the shirt there as well. Like I mentioned, all the proceeds from this shirt go directly to the charity that Swing for the Stars will be supporting the Family Autism Network. So by all means, get on there, order. I'd love to see you guys wearing the shirts out there in numbers that day. It will be fantastic. So as we get ready for this week's food for thought, we are mere days away from the upcoming Flex fights. This Saturday, Saturday the 13th, is Fire Fight held in the Selden Firehouse. 3 Team Tiger Schulman's fighters will be on the card. Next week, we have Swing for the Stars, which is why I'm encouraging you buy the Catalina shirt beforehand so that way we can make sure we raise plenty of money for the charities. And one thing that really, really sticks out in my mind when it comes to martial arts, when it comes to the victories that I see in the flex cage, and even, from the great students that we see in Swing for the Stars and the great fighters we see in Swing for the Stars. And it's one thing that's very, very common, right? The highlight reel in martial arts, the thing that you see that's like, wow, those are the moves that you see 5% of the time or less, right? We all remember the Showtime Pettis kick where he ran off the side of the cage, jumped up and kicked Benson Henderson in the side of the head. And it was really cool. And it was like such a memorable moment because we had never seen it before. We remember when Uriah Hall knocked out that dude on the Ultimate Fighter with the spinning heel kick, Adam Cella, on the him and Terry, he and Edson Barbosa, when they knocked out Terry Edom. Both those guys kind of made a little history with their spinning kick and the way the way the world was like, oh my gosh. And I'm sure you can think of other people who landed similar techniques, right? Like Dennis Seaver famously landed a whole bunch of spinning back kicks to the body on people, or David Loazo did the same and folded people up. And we can remember those. But we remember those because there's so few of them. But then you think about how many fights you've seen when a fighter gets knocked out by a left hook or a right cross or a left high kick or a right high kick or a knee. And the reason that you see those knockouts much more often, the reason you see those things landed much more often is because the fundamentals always work. They're fundamental for a reason. And that's really what I want to focus on today is fundamentals. Now, I'm going to stick with the martial arts idea here for a while, but I promise you I will explore other areas. Right? So here's what I want you to envision for me. Right? We are getting to really nice weather. Full disclosure, it is a gorgeous day outside right now as I am recording this, and I'm going out in the sun to record this for you guys. But nonetheless, when I want you to think about building a snowman for me. So the stereotypical snowman that we think about is 3 giant snowballs on top of each other, right? A bigger one, a more medium-sized one, and then the smallest one on the top. And maybe there are snowmen that are, staggered a little different. Maybe there's ones where there's more of them, right? But typically we think of 3. We think of the one on the bottom, the one in the middle, and then the one on top, right? Typically the one on the bottom is what you use as the base. The one in the middle is where you put the arms and put the coal down for the buttons. And then the one on top is the head where you put the carrot and the coal and the smile and all that. So if you ask yourself which one of those snowballs is the most important, which one will prevent the remaining bits of the snowman from not working? And the answer is the bottom snowball. If you don't take that bottom snowball and don't make it really, really, really good, then everything else is going to crumble underneath it. Right? And sure, if you make a crummy top and middle, it might crumble as well, but it won't impact the whole rest of the snowman. Right? If you make the bottom one crummy, well, then the whole snowman comes crashing down and the whole thing's a pile, right? You might just get a shorter snowman if you do it the other way, right? That's not only is that snowball the biggest, it's got to be the most dense and it's got to be the most well-built. And the same is true when it comes to martial arts skills. Again, the highlight reel, the thing that we're always like, whoa, it's not the stuff that is fundamental, right? But we only see that stuff. It gives us the whoa because we see it so infrequently. We see it so every once in a while. And when you only see it every once in a while, it makes you sit up in your seat, right? Think about other sports as well, right? When you think about different, like football, for example, there was that play in the Super Bowl a few years ago. I forget the name of the player who caught. He made the immaculate reception, they called it, where the ball got thrown and he caught it up against his helmet. He's a Giants player. I should probably know this is a New Yorker, but nonetheless, right? Caught the ball up against his helmet, squeezed into his helmet as he made his way out and caught the ball there. Now, that was one catch in the game. And we remember that one. Oh my God, it was spectacular. But the Giants would not have even been in the game if had it not been for fundamental passing and running plays up to that point, right? Again, the highlight reel is not real life, right? Like it's kind of the joke in the martial arts world of, the person who's brand new to jujitsu but saw some crazy spinning move on social media and Instagram video, like, oh, but Professor Sensei, what about this? Bro, you don't even know how to close your guard. Worry about that first, right? So fundamentals are the single most important thing upon which you can build a martial arts skill set, right? If you don't start with the most basics, solid stance, a solid piece of footwork, right? If you don't have that down well, then nothing else is going to work well. If you can't throw a fundamental jab, cross, hook really well, then nothing else works well. Right? If you can't throw a good front kick or round kick or knee kick with either leg, nothing else will work well. Right? And the thing is, when you see fantastic combinations, when you see fantastic, powerful strikes being landed, they're all predicated on each piece being better. The way I explain this to kids and often adults too, honestly, because honestly, kid examples work really well for adults sometimes, is Legos. Right? If you're building Legos, each one of the Lego bricks has to work well. I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but my younger brother was super into Legos growing up. Like Legos were the Christmas tradition. He would always get some big Lego set. And when he got the big Lego set, him and my uncles, they would sit there and they would build that Lego set all day long on Christmas. And because he got so many Lego sets, occasionally he'd get one where there was one or two warped Legos, where the Legos were just a little bit messed up, right? They just didn't get through the production line perfect. It happens, no big deal. Honestly, if you emailed to call the Lego company, they would send you the piece right, without a problem. So you'd have this, and you'd be trying to like finagle the two pieces together and just like mush them in just such a way so that they would work just perfect, and but it wouldn't. Right? When he was done, the thing that he was building was always just a little bit off, and it was always that one brick that just wasn't so good. Right? And that's the case with everything. If you build your foundation unsolidly, where there's a couple of pieces that aren't working good. And again, when we're talking about fundamentals, a jab, a cross, a hook, basic strikes in martial arts, there's only a few ingredients that go into making those done very technically sound. Right? Is the guard hand in position? Are you fully extending? Are you making contact with the right weapon? Are you retracting back in a straight line? Do you still have a solid foundation under you, a good stance, some good balance? Right? Are you still protecting your vulnerable areas? Right? There's just only a few aspects of each technique that make it work really, really well. Right? But if you're doing each of those things well, and then you practice that skill repetitively again and again and again, you build a really, really solid foundation. And it enables you to build an even better stuff on top of it. Right? And the beautiful thing about fundamentals and the beautiful thing about working on your fundamentals is there's no such thing as too sharp, there's no such thing as too good, there's no such thing as too strong or too accurate. Those things don't exist in martial arts. You're never going to look at somebody like, man, their jab is just too good. It's terrible. No, if anything, the jab being too good is terrible for their opponent, not for them. Right? And that is the thing. You can continually sharpen those skills. And I think we should. I think it's something we should spend a good amount of time working on, right? Like what makes the highlight, what makes the Instagram reel that's oh so cool is the really cool mitt combination. But watch what's landed in a fight. Is it the really cool mitt combination that's 47 strikes and 18 defenses long, where you're switching stances and cutting angles? That's not what really happens in fighting. I've watched a lot of fights in my life, a lot. And it's not like you see one person land 48 unanswered strikes or that the exact right defense comes at the exact right time to set up the exact next thing. Those things are great for a workout, for your mental acuity, for your building the skill and so forth. But those only happen because the fundamentals are done really well. Right? Like we have a few fighters coming up on on the pro part of the card who I'm watching their training highlights on social media. Right? We have a pro kickboxing match, and we have a couple pro MMA fights. And again, watching these guys train, what makes Instagram, what they put on there, is the crazy long combinations with a whole bunch of things in a row. But the only reason they got to that level where they have that Instagram reel with this crazy combination is because they have each piece of that combination down so well that they can build on top of it. The problem in so much of martial arts is people try to make it. They try to at a beginner level think like, oh, I got to do that cool fun stuff. You don't know how to walk yet, and you're trying to run. That's the thing. You have to learn how to walk, and you got to get really good at walking before you can consider running. Right? And the same is true when you see some of like the crazy. I don't want to say crazy, but the some of the off the beaten path kind of training stuff that you see out there in the world, right? Like one thing that gained popularity a couple of years ago is the knees over toes guy, and he was all about building up the strength of your knees by doing squats differently than you normally would, and so forth. And for athletes, for people who are in good shape already, who have great coordination and great core strength, adding that to the routine was a great thing. However, the problem was people who had no fitness level, right? Whose fitness level was basically a negative number, and like, that's why I'm not in shape. No, you need the fundamentals first, right? Think about the whatever it is that you do. At the end of the day, everything comes back to your fundamentals. Do you do your fundamentals right? Right? Like when you run a business, it all comes back to the fundamentals of that business. If you're running a retail business where you're selling items, the most basic thing that you need is inventory. Is your inventory being done well? Right? Like I know people who run convenience stores. If their inventory system isn't down perfectly and they don't have that fundamental thing done right, they're flying by the seat of their pants all the time. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. Because if that's the case and they're constantly flying by the seat of their pants, how in the world are they ever going to keep up with demand? They'll be out of stock of stuff all the time. That'll frustrate their customers and draw them away from the store to another store somewhere close by, and thus pushing their business into a worse scenario. But why? Because they ignored fundamentals, right? Like in my school, there's a whole bunch of fundamental things, and I don't want to go into my business too much and make it too much about that. But you can think about this in everything that you do, right? Accounting. My father's an accountant by degree, and that's what he did for a lot of years. I took some accounting classes in college. The most basic that you have in accounting is a T chart, right? Your debits and your credits. And if you don't understand debits and credits, if you don't understand what's adding to your money and what's taking away from your money, if you don't understand that in the most basic sense in the cash flow of your accounting of your business, you don't understand your business. You don't know your numbers, right? It was a great show that was on TV, and unfortunately, it kind of ran its course. Um, I really enjoyed it quite a lot, and I might even go back and watch the show again because it was very positive and uplifting. It's a show called The Prophet. It was a self-made millionaire, Marcus Lemonis, who built his business portfolio to several businesses. Camping World is like his big business that he owns, and he does very, very well for himself. And what he was doing is failing businesses would write into him. And he would then go to the failing business and he would analyze their people, their product, and their process. And then he would look to fix their people, their process, their product, or people, product, process. And then he would make an offer to invest in the business and become a partner in the business, where he would then spend even more money and more time fixing those things. And the one thing that always used to frustrate him to no end is when someone didn't know their numbers. That used to drive him crazy when he would come in and be like, "How much money did you make last year?" And they're like, uh, and they just had no idea. And I could understand how frustrating it was, right? Now, especially when you consider the scenario, right? It's not as though it's not as though somebody just showed up in their business, this person's business, out of the blue, and was like, "Hey, tell me how much you made in your P&L last year." Like, like this person knew that Marcus Lemonis was coming, and he was considering investing in their business, and they didn't do the most fundamental thing and figure out how much revenue they produced last year. That's something you should know. You should have you should, even if you're not exact, which I think you should be, you probably should know how much you made last year, especially in that scenario. And this is true for literally everything, right? Having two kids in the house now. when I'm trying to get them to take care of their stuff, the most fundamental part of taking care of your stuff is putting things where they belong, right? Shoes go where shoes go. Jackets go where jackets go. Laundry goes where laundry goes. Backpacks go where backpacks go. And it's been, I don't want to say the bane of my existence because that would be making it a little dramatic, but it has been one of my greatest missions of late to teach the kids that this is where shoes go, this is where jackets go. And at the end of the night before they go to bed, making sure that they put their shoes where their shoes go, their jacket where their jacket goes, their backpack where their backpack goes. That's very, very important. Because, of course, what's one of the most common things that happens to the items that belong to kids? They get lost. Well, why do they get lost? Because they don't get put back where they go, right? Like, it's very funny. They'll ask me all the time because I handle the laundry. They'll be like, do you know where my shirt like this is? And I'll be like, was it in your hamper? And they're like, I don't know. Right? Did you put it in the laundry? Uh, I don't know. Right? But if they just make it a system where every day they come home, they do this, right? Like they come to my school every day. So they come to my school and they have a backpack full of the clothes, either the clothes they wore to my school or the uniform that they wore, depending on if they changed before they left or not. And then that bag should get emptied into the laundry basket. And that's right there, right? Doesn't always get emptied right there. And then invariably, I wind up putting it there because it frustrates me and I have to pack the bag the next day. And then they can't find whatever shirt or whatever shoes. But again, it all comes back to the most fundamental thing, putting things where they belong, right? And again, I started to touch on fitness a little while ago, and the idea of like the fundamentals is what you need, right? Going through the 60-day challenge. As I went through the 60-day challenge, obviously you guys know I was part of the whole the webinars and everything that we did. And as we did these webinars, I worked with Coach Clay. Clay is a renowned bodybuilder, personal trainer, coached people for years. And if you watch when Clay does workouts, Clay is not reinventing the wheel. Clay is not going to workouts and doing these crazy Instagram popular things that you've never seen before. Clay's doing the stuff that you've seen for years, and Clay's physique would make a lot of people jealous. He's very strong, and he's very strong because he does the basics. He does the fundamental movements so well. Now, are there ways to hit these fundamental movements with all sorts of... Yeah, if you have the fundamental movements down well. But if you don't have the fundamental movements down well, then why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? Fundamentals are fundamentals because they work. That's true in martial arts. It's true in bodybuilding. It's true in fitness. It's true in business. It's true in your home life. The fundamentals never go wrong. The fundamentals never stop working. The fundamentals are on which you build everything else, right? For example, I had a friend of mine years ago who was they were self-employed as a massage therapist, and they were employed elsewhere, but they also did side work for their own business as a massage therapist. And I heard her answer the phone. Someone called up, saw her business card somewhere, and it was obvious she had no plan what to do when that person called her. So she put out advertising all over the place, business cards out and things online and blah, 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 and all this stuff. She did all this stuff. But then when the person called her, she had no idea how to handle this person that called for information. She had no funnel through which to direct them. She had no introductory offer. She had no way to collect information from them. She was flying by the seat of her pants. And as a result, her business never took off at all because people would come in and maybe she knew how to deal with them, maybe she didn't. She didn't have a follow-up system. There was no systems in place, right? Again, that's the most fundamental thing when you own a business. Someone calls, do you have someone who knows how to answer the phone? And if someone who doesn't know how to answer the phone answers the phone, do they know to pass it off to someone who knows how to answer the phone? Because I've had that in my business where I have someone who's new, and yes, they're allowed to pick up the phone because occasionally it's a student. Hey, I'm not going to be in class tonight. The student who forgot that they can text us and make our life simple. But if it's someone who's calling for information, they know. They've been taught. Hold on, I'm going to get you the person who can give you all that information. Put the phone on hold and go get that person. Right? Because that, again, the most basic thing has to be done right first before you can do everything else. Right? And to me, That's something to reflect on in everything that we do. All right, I'm going to do Flex Fights commentary this weekend. Did I do the basics of setting up my commentary notes well? If I didn't do that, it's going to be hard for me to make. I mean, I'm Italian. I can make conversation with just about anybody, but it's going to be tougher to make conversation if if everything else is not done well. So this week, I want you to think about the fundamentals of your life. Think about the fundamentals of your training, right? Whether it's martial arts or fitness related. Think about the fundamentals of your home, of your business, whatever it is. Focus on those fundamentals for me for this week. Make them phenomenal and keep working them because they can only get better. That's all I have for you guys this week. So as always, you can reach me via email, senseileonelli@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at sensei_Leonelli. On Facebook, I'm Sensei James Leonelli. You can find my school online at tsmasmithtown.com. On Facebook, we're at facebook.com/TigerSchulman-Smithtown. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at TSMMA_Smithtown. You can find out more about the Tiger Schulman's organization as a whole at tsk.com. You can find everywhere I'm on the internet at my linktree, linktr.ee/Sensei Leonelli. There you can find the link to this awesome Catalina shirt, which I encourage you to buy so you can make that donation to that wonderful charity as discussed. You can also get all the information about the upcoming Flex Fights, the upcoming Swing for the Stars, and much, much more, all on my linktree. It's also, you can find information on our sponsors. Sponsorship opportunities are still available. So if you guys are interested, please contact me any of the ways that I gave you. Other than that, my friends, make sure that you guys leave a rate and review. It just helps. Subscribe, get your new episodes every Wednesday. But most important thing you can do for me, guys, share the podcast. It is something you can never do enough for me. It's the only form of advertising that I have. I very much appreciate when I see you do it. So until next time, my friends, invest in yourselves. I'll see you guys on the mat.